The end of the world is coming. Tibet, China, has become the last place of hope for the world. In order to save the seeds of civilization, many doomsday arks was built. The time came in 2012. A family of 4 was eating breakfast as usual. Suddenly the whole house starts to shake violently. Gordon rushes to get under the table with his wife and 2 stepsons. Just then, the woman's ex-husband, Jackson, rushes in. He yelled for his ex-wife's family to get into the car. The house was in ruins as they rushed out. Without a second thought, Jackson kicked the gas and drove off. The ground behind him tumbled like a wave, and the house next to it was reduced to rubble. Kate looked at the horrible scene behind her and kept shouting for Jackson to hurry up. So Jackson started his show. He started with an air jump, then a snake walk, and then a dragon tail swing. They managed to survive in the cracks, only to be blocked by the fallen building again. They drove out of the building and made it to the airport. The pilot was in heaven by now. Gordon had played the game of flying a plane in the simulator. This time, he had to act as a real pilot. By now, the ground collapse had spread to the airport. At the last moment, they managed to take off. The once beautiful city was in ruins behind them. The subway rushed out of the fault. 2 buildings collapsed together. Gordon managed to escape by relying on his gaming skills. It turns out that 3 years earlier, geologist Adrian and astrophysicist Tsunami discovered that the neutrinos produced by the sun's blasts were causing a physical reaction, and these mutated neutrinos were already causing the temperature of the Earth's core to rise dramatically every day. The duo predicted that in a few years, the Earth would be in danger of extinction. The president had a secret meeting with the heads of state after learning the news. He said, "We're all going to die. Of course, people won't just sit around and wait to die." Immediately, the Ark project was launched. The Ark was to be built in Tibet, China. With the launch of the Ark project, the elites, politicians, and the richest people in the world got the news, and they are also qualified to buy tickets for the Ark. The ticket price is not high, 1 billion euros. And people like Jackson are not even qualified to know about it. A few days ago, Jackson went camping in Yellowstone with his 2 children, accidentally met a fanatic podcaster who preached the end of the world, Charlie, and learned about the Ark from him, but Jackson thought he had met a crazy person. But this morning, his boss called out of the blue and asked him to take his 2 sons to the airport. He was sure about the Ark project from the 2 boys. He watched the cracks appear on the ground. Jackson finally believed it. Immediately thereafter, Jackson took the children straight to Yellowstone Park. Unexpectedly, he just found Charlie. The Yellowstone volcano, which had been dormant for hundreds of thousands of years, had erupted. Jackson drove Charlie's car and made it back without a hitch. After handing over his daughter to his ex-wife, he rushed back to the car and managed to find the map Charlie had left behind. But the next second, the ground collapsed again, and Jackson and the RV fell down together. Gordon saw the scene and was in a conflicted mood, ready to take off. But luckily, Jackson miraculously climbed out, and with the help of his ex-wife, he managed to board the plane. Then Jackson opened the map and found that the location of the Ark was in Tibet, China, but their small plane couldn't get there at all. So the group landed at the airport in Las Vegas and prepared to change to a bigger plane. Unexpectedly, Jackson met his boss here. Just then, the boss's pilot found a plane that needed 2 people to fly. In this way, Gordon was forcibly requisitioned again. Then, the crowd ignored the obstacles and rushed out directly. The plane took off successfully. This made the pilot and Gordon very happy, but it wasn't long before Gordon called Jackson up. Despite the change to a bigger plane, they also need to refuel in Hawaii. Unfortunately, Hawaii had turned into a mountain of fire. They had no choice but to continue their flight to China. Fortunately, because of the movement of the Earth's crustal plates, the plane managed to reach Tibet before running out of fuel. But unfortunately, the plane's engine failed. They had no choice but to make a forced landing. Suddenly, the boss had a brainstorm, and he told everyone to get in the car. When the plane was taxiing close to the ground, he opened the hatch, let Jackson drive and take everyone out. Everything was ready, and the pilot let Gordon go first. He stayed behind. Then Jackson stepped on the gas and went out. The car landed safely, while the pilot gave his life to save everyone. Before anyone could catch their breath, they saw dozens of Chinese helicopters transporting various animals. This is Tibet, China, and the last place of hope for the world. The people who had just recovered their lives thought they had finally been saved, but what the Jacksons didn't expect was that they needed tickets to board the Ark, so they could only watch the boss, who had abandoned his girlfriend, leave with his 2 children. Looking at the distant helicopter, the people were filled with despair. They had gone through 9 lifetimes to get here, but they couldn't get on the boat because they had no money. But Jackson did not give up, and he led the crowd to continue to move forward. Luckily, they were lucky enough to meet a car. Hearing Jackson shout, the driver stopped. Although they were unable to communicate, the kind family took them with them. To their surprise, this family was also going to board the Ark. It turned out that the old man's grandson was the welder who built the Ark. He knew a secret passage to enter the Ark secretly, but when he saw the extra group of people, he didn't agree to take them with him. Kate begged and pleaded, "Just take the child with you." Finally, after being persuaded by his grandmother, he took everyone with him. At the same time, Adrian, a geologist, also arrived on the Ark. Suddenly, he got a call from Satnam. Adrian asked him which Ark he was on. To his surprise, Satnam told him that he was still in India and there was no one to pick him up. But now there is no need to pick him up. A huge tsunami was coming toward him. Satnam was the first scientist to discover the signs of doom. Without him, probably no one would have escaped the disaster. But it was ironic that such a man, who could be called a savior, did not get a ticket to the ship. Adrian was angry though, but what Satnam just said about the tsunami made him realize that the tsunami was going to arrive early. At the same time, the huge building smashed into the crowd praying in the square. The huge tsunami instantly swallowed the luxury cruise ship. The aircraft carrier JFK smashed the White House directly into pieces. There was no time to wait for everyone to get on board, so the captain ordered an early departure. The people who couldn't make it to the ship were anxious. They beat the guards and poured into the station. On the other hand, Jackson and the others sneaked into the Ark under the leadership of the welder. The welder carried the machine, unscrewed the screws, and opened a small door. The people climbed in one by one. Meanwhile, Adrian inside the Ark could not bear to give up the people on the platform like this. So, he contacted the leaders of other Ark countries. He hoped that mankind would not create the future in such a cruel way. The leaders of the countries were silent after hearing this. Then they agreed to open the door. The hatch was slowly opened. Jackson, who had not yet climbed into the passage, fell directly into the rotating gears. The welder's legs were swept in. He survived by holding onto a pipe. Jackson tugged on the pipe and tried to pull Gordon up, but he was too late. Gordon died. As the hatch continued to fall, Jackson and the welder are about to be rolled into gear. The tube wrapped around the gear, and it got stuck. This led directly to a hatch malfunction. The hatch could not be closed, so the engine could not be started. And there were only 4 minutes left before the tsunami hit. Terrible tsunami washes away airport. Then it came straight to the Ark. The seawater instantly rushed into the Ark. The captain ordered the emergency system to be activated, and isolation doors were raised one after another in the bottom water entry area. But as long as the hatch was not closed, the Ark's engine could not be started. At the moment of crisis, Adrian saw Jackson and the others through the monitor. He immediately realized that the hatch could not be closed and must be related to them. Adrian immediately rushed over but was blocked by the isolation door. He told Jackson that the hatch's hydraulic system was jammed by something. If they didn't get it out, everyone would die. Jackson instantly realized that the hydraulic system jammed should be the welder's machine. Immediately, he dived directly back into the hydraulic cabin to find the location of the machine jammed. Then he tried desperately to pull out, but the machine did not move. As Jackson was desperate, a light suddenly shone through, and it was his son. His son found a hose wrapped around the gears. With the impact of the tsunami, Jackson managed to pull out the hose stuck in the gears. He then retrieved the machine. The hatch finally closed slowly. The captain immediately ordered start the engine, but it was too late. The Ark crashed into Mount Everest. The crumbling mountains have smashed into the Ark. The people were desperate to die. Just then, the Ark's engine was fully restored. With the huge horsepower, the Ark started the reverse mode. The crisis was finally lifted. Everyone on the Ark hugged and cheered. The time came to January 27, 2001. The tsunami receded, and the Ark opened its hatch for the first time. Everyone went to the deck, breathing in the long-lost air and enjoying the warm sunshine. This is the end of the story. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and we will see you next time.